India is rising, but not in the way most people think. It's not just growing, it's rewriting the rules. Welcome to this explainer. Today we're looking at a geopolitical shift of massive proportions. We're moving past the typical headlines of GDP numbers and population statistics to understand the deep structural changes happening right now on the subcontinent. Our sources today range from strategic think tank reports to academic journals to critical, on-the-ground commentary. And what they reveal is a fascinating narrative of a nation in profound transition. Let's dive right in.
Section 1. The Strategy of Autonomy, a Geopolitical Pivot. For decades, India's foreign policy was largely defined by what it was avoiding. During the Cold War, the nation was mostly seen as a rule-taker, carefully navigating a bipolar world. But that era is completely over. Today, we're witnessing a deliberate pivot. Driven by a proactive, India-first approach, New Delhi is actively working to become a rule shaper. At the core of this shift is the concept of strategic autonomy. Now, in the past, non-alignment usually just meant passive distance. But the modern doctrine? It's entirely different. It's an active method to navigate highly contested arenas. It means having the ultimate freedom to shape global engagements entirely on sovereign terms. Essentially, it's the ability to say yes or no based purely on national interest.
To really grasp this, we have to compare the old model with the new. We're moving from non-alignment to multi-alignment. So what does this actually look like in practice? Well, it means India actively partners with the United States on defense in the Indo-Pacific, but at the exact same time, it maintains deep historical ties with Russia. It continues to procure energy and defense systems completely unfazed by Western pressure. And it pulls all of this off while actively courting the global South. It is a highly complex, high-wire balancing act designed to de-risk relationships rather than getting locked into rigid alliances.
A vital pillar of this strategy is global positioning. During its recent G20 presidency, India forcefully positioned itself as the true voice of the global South. It's actively leveraging its unique position to bridge the economic chasm between the global North and South and the deep political divide between East and West. By advocating for developing nations that are looking for genuine agency, not vassalage, India is quietly accumulating an immense amount of diplomatic capital.
Section 2. Regional Realities and Challenges. The Neighborhood Friction.
Grand global strategies always collide with local realities. You simply cannot project power globally if you're constrained locally. Geography defines history. And India's neighborhood-first policy faces immense friction. India is hemmed in by nuclear-armed neighbors to both its north and west. Plus, the sheer size and economic weight of India creates an inherent asymmetry in South Asia. While India is actively seeking regional stability, its smaller neighbors often feel completely overshadowed.
The sources point to a severe regional trust deficit. Cross-border disputes persist, most notably the historical, tense clashes along the borders with China. Furthermore, China is rapidly expanding its competitive influence right in India's backyard. Massive infrastructure investments under the Belt and Road Initiative are actively offering smaller nations an alternative center of gravity. This intense competition forces India to constantly recalibrate its diplomatic efforts just to maintain its traditional sphere of influence.
Section 3. The Domestic Power Base, Internal Capability.
To push back against regional pressures, a nation needs an engine. External ambition is entirely hollow without deep internal capability. And one of the most fascinating developments here is how India has literally turned domestic technology into foreign policy. Take its digital public infrastructure, specifically the Unified Payments Interface, or UPI. Incredibly, UPI now processes over 10 billion digital transactions every single month. But here is the genius part. India is now exporting this exact architecture. By offering this digital foundation to the global South, India provides a viable alternative to both Western tech monopolies and Chinese state-backed infrastructure. It is technology functioning as pure diplomacy.
But beyond hard tech, there is the soft power arsenal, and the breadth of India's influence here is multidimensional. It ranges from leading the International Solar Alliance to being one of the largest historical contributors to UN peacekeeping missions. Add to this a vibrant 30 million-strong diaspora that actively shapes policy in major Western capitals. It's a remarkably comprehensive approach to making the world much more receptive to Indian leadership.
Section 4. The Loud Power Critique, the Vital Counterveer.
A true explainer requires strict neutrality and absolute balance. If we only look at the successes, we completely miss the full picture.
Our sources today also include some very sobering, highly critical realities from on-the-ground analysts. One analyst cuts right to the bone with this observation. As of now, we are more loud and proud than we are powerful. There is no finish to what we do, unfortunately, yet. This is the critique of India as a loud power. It suggests a nation bursting with energy and a deep desire for global validation, but one that currently lacks the quiet, highly sophisticated execution of a true superpower.
The sources outline a stark reality check that we have to acknowledge. First, there's the vast dominance of the informal economy, which operates largely outside of strict regulatory frameworks. Second, there are massive, critical gaps in manufacturing. Despite major initiatives like Make in India, the country still heavily relies on imports for critical components. And third, a significant lack of indigenous deep tech. While India absolutely excels at IT services, manufacturing high-end military or civil hardware domestically remains a profound challenge. And then there's the ultimate contradiction of scale. The Indian economy is undeniably massive, having recently crossed the $4 trillion mark. But when you divide that wealth by 1.4 billion people, the GDP per capita remains quite sobering. True power requires elevating the living standards of the vast majority. Until that metric rises significantly, the great power status remains a projection of scale, rather than a true reflection of widespread prosperity.
Section 5. The Future of Sovereignty. Technological Control.
So, where does this all leave us? We've seen the bold strategies, the regional traps, and the stark domestic realities. And it's crucial to understand, because the very definition of what makes a nation powerful is shifting beneath our feet. The ultimate point to take away from this explainer is this: power is no longer just military. It is technological control. The real battlegrounds of the 21st century are supply chains, critical minerals, and artificial intelligence.
Sovereignty today is written in data, not borders. India's pursuit of strategic autonomy is ultimately a quest for this entirely new kind of sovereignty. It's about building dependable compute. It's about having a real say in global AI standards. And it's about ensuring that digital cooperation translates directly into diplomatic strength. The ultimate goal here is absolute technological agency.
Based on the data, the historical shifts, and the critical realities we've explored today, India is not just rising, it is deciding what kind of power it wants to become. And that choice will define the next global order. The question we must leave you with is this: as the world fractures into competing technological blocks, will India's delicate balancing act hold, or will they eventually be forced to choose a side? Thank you for joining me for this explainer. I'll see you next time.